Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today we'll be staining basswood. Now basswood is probably the most boring wood in terms of its grain structure and its finishing options. Being a softwood, it is very easy to work with, but it's still a nightmare to finish your work because of its blotchiness. So artists and woodworkers alike generally just tend to paint all over it. So in this video we'll be looking at some finishing options. Let's see what we get. So let's get started. So we have a 24-inch piece of basswood, which is a 1/4 inch thick and 2 inches wide. So what we'll do is divide this into 6 equal pieces across the board. Now we'll be doing this experiment in 2 parts. For the first part, we're going to seal the surface of the wood to prepare it for the stain. For the second part, once the sealers have dried, we're going to apply the stain. Now before we do anything, I'm going to sand our piece down to about 400 grit to give it a nice and smooth surface. I'm going to divide the piece by placing a mark at a distance of 4 inches each. Then I'm going to mark the lines using a set square. I'm going to clamp the piece down and I'm going to make shallow cuts on the lines so that our stain does not travel from one piece to the other. Now this is an optional step. And now I'm just going to put masking tape on the lines to divide the pieces. For this experiment we're going to be using some Danish oil, an acrylic sanding sealer. You can use any type of sealer you have, a Wax shellac, Ronseal's clear gloss varnish, some white spirits, and for the stain we're going to be going with a rosewood spirit stain. Now for our first piece I'm going to be applying Danish oil only. I'm going to do this by dipping a clean rag into the oil and applying it over the surface of the wood. We can see an instant darkening of the color as we apply the oil. We will allow the first coat to dry for about 20 minutes and then apply the second coat. We can now begin to see the difference in appearance of both pieces. After another 20 minutes of drying, we will now apply our final coat. Now for our second piece, I'm going to spray a thin layer of acrylic sanding sealer and let it dry for about 10 minutes. Using a scrub pad, I'm going to lightly sand the top surface after the sealer has dried. We are now ready to apply the stain. I'm going to do this by using a normal paintbrush, making sure to apply an even coat across the piece. I'm going to repeat this as many times as necessary to get a nice and even spread. For our third piece, I'm going to mix 1 part shellac with 1 part varnish. I'm going to let the wood soak in the sealant and let it dry for 24 hours. After 24 hours, apply the stain normally. For our fourth piece, I'm going to mix 1 part varnish with 1 part white spirits. Let the wood soak in the sealant and let it dry for 24 hours before applying the stain. For our fifth piece, we're going to use shellac only. We're also going to let this dry for 24 hours, and we'll be very careful while working with shellac because it is very sticky. Just look at that. You can clean your brushes with methylated spirits. After 24 hours, lightly sand the top surface with a scrub pad, and then apply your stain normally. For our last piece, I'm going to soak the wood in water. I'll do this by using a kitchen towel. Spread the water over the surface and apply again as much as you can. Let it dry for about 20 minutes and then apply the stain normally. And that's it for the experiment. Time to see the results. Okay, so here is what the basswood looks like when you finish it with oil. It gives it a nice goldenish glow, but there is not much to see as far as the grain is concerned. Although, it is not a bad option to finish your carvings with if you prefer to keep a natural look. For the acrylic sanding sealer, we can see some blotchiness around the piece, which gives it an uneven finished look. This type of sealer may work better with other types of woods. For the shellac and varnish mixture, we can see a nice and even stain without any heavy signs of blotching. This technique also gives a result which is matched close to the real color of rosewood. The grain lines of basswood have also been made prominent by this sealant. For the varnish and white spirit mixture, we also have a nice and even stain with no signs of heavy blotching. This technique gives us a darker version of the rosewood stain. So if you prefer darker colors, you might want to try this one out. For the shellac only piece, the stain appears to be very cloudy and muddy. Even though there is no blotching, the stain does not appear to be even across the piece, and the grain lines are also not visible. For the water seal piece, we can see heavy blotching across the workpiece. The color of the stain is darker, and the finish appears to be quite uneven. So in summary, based on the results, I would personally opt to go with a mixture of 1 part shellac and 1 part varnish. If I want to get a darker shade and I don't have a darker stain, then I can try using the varnish and the white spirit mix. If I don't have any stains available, and if I'm not going to paint my workpiece, then I might as well use some Danish oil instead of leaving the wood in its natural state. So there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little experiment, and you can run your own experiments and you can try different wood stains. There are water-based stains, there are oil-based stains, you can use gel stains, you can mix things up, try different types of sealers, but whatever you do, always remember to run a test piece before you actually stain your work. That's it for now. I'll see you guys next time.